Now, there are some economic terms that define the activity of the consumer. One important term that we use in economics is known by the word utility. Utility is the want satisfying quality in any goods or service. This want satisfying quality differs from person to person and at different periods of time. If you look at an apple, and if you are very hungry, you will feel that particular apple has a certain want satisfying quality in it. That particular want satisfying quality in that apple is known as utility. However, when you are not hungry and you look at that apple will still have the want satisfying quality, but it will be less. Therefore, we say that utility can differ in different periods of time, and it can differ according to different people. Some people might like apple, and they might see that the apple has a lot of want satisfying quality, while some people may not like apple and they feel that that apple does not have too much of want satisfying quality. The second term that defines the activity of a consumer is called want. Want is the desire that a consumer has for a particular good or service. Now, you've got to understand that all of us have wants, but very few of us have the ability to satisfy all our wants. So, there is a difference between the word want and demand. The third word is called demand. Demand are all those wants that a consumer has the ability to satisfy. All those wants that a consumer can satisfy with his money power is known as demand. So therefore, some of the wants can be satisfied because a person has the ability to pay for that particular want, and those wants are called demand. But some of the wants may simply be a want or a desire which you cannot fulfill. For example, Mr. Pradhan might want an aeroplane, but then that is simply a want. He'll never have the money to afford an aeroplane. So therefore, there is a difference between want and demand. But demand, for example, Mr. Pradhan may want a chocolate, but that want is also a demand, because not only does he want the chocolate, but he also has the ability to buy that particular chocolate. The next economic term is called consumption, and consumption is the act of using the goods and services or the utility that you can derive from the goods and services. A producer carries out the act of production. So production is the next economic term. Production is the act of the creation of utility, or it is the creation of goods and services. You have to understand that whenever a producer makes a good or service, in economics we understand it as the creation of utility or the want satisfying power. For example, if you have an apple and you make an apple pie or an apple cake out of it, you have created more want satisfying quality than compared with an apple. An apple may have a certain want satisfying quality, but you make something more beautiful from that apple, you create more want satisfying quality. So production is the act of the creation of utility. The next term that we use is called a market. A market is the forum or the arrangement where buyers and sellers can interact with one another for the buying and selling of one particular good or service. Now, you have to understand that market in economics is different from the market that we see on a day-to-day basis. On a day-to-day basis, your mall, your particular place is known as a market. But in economics, a market is an arrangement. sometimes we call it a forum. For example, the internet has made an arrangement where different buyers and sellers can come together and buy a particular product. So in a market, only one particular product is bought and sold. For example, we say a market for mobile phones. So in a market for mobile phones, you have the buyers of mobile phones, you have the sellers of mobile phone, and you have one particular product, which is the mobile phone. For example, we can say market for apples. So in the market for apples, you have the buyers of apples, you have the sellers of apple, and you have one particular product, which is the apple. Now both this mobile phone and the apple does not necessarily require a place to be sold. It can be sold in the internet, it can be sold online through courier services, so you can have different arrangements to buy and sell that product. So therefore, market is not a place, but it is a forum where can come together for the buying and selling of one particular good.